After a 2-year absence, Kirby finally returned in the Nintendo Switch 2 Direct with an expansion for the Forgotten Land and one of the most anticipated follow-ups to a beloved spin-off, Kirby Air Riders. Not only is this Kirby's grand debut on Nintendo's newest hardware, but it also marks the return of Masahiro Sakurai as a director for a Kirby game after more than 20 years. I'll be covering the Switch 2 version of the Forgotten Land plus Star-Crossed World in a separate video, because today I want to focus on Kirby Air Riders, the implications you might have missed and every detail hidden in this short teaser trailer. The trailer begins with Kirby struggling to start his Warp Star, which seems to have lost its power for unknown reasons. Although this is just a teaser and nothing shown here necessarily reflects actual gameplay mechanics, it could hint at a possible idea where vehicles can run out of energy, requiring players to reactivate them in some way. The original Air Ride featured fast-paced gameplay with every star moving automatically without the need to press a button. Slowing down the action to occasionally repair your star could end up harming the moment-to-moment gameplay more than enhancing it. Instead, this feature makes much more sense in a potential new city trial mode, where each player must upgrade their star as quickly as possible in an open map to gain an advantage in the final minigame once the preparation time runs out. In Air Ride, you can already destroy your opponent's machines with enough power, so perhaps this time there will be a way to repair broken stars. After successfully restoring power to the Warp Star, jet engines appear at the back of the vehicle, resembling the design of the original Air Ride's Warp Star, but now with much more detail. Kirby then transitions into the next shot, revealing a beautiful, lush landscape that fills the screen, giving us a first glimpse of a possible track in the game. The environment is adorned with vibrant, oversized flowers, a small lake and a short cliff in the background. This location doesn't seem to resemble any familiar level from past Kirby games, suggesting that it may serve as the aesthetics for the game's first tutorial course. However, an interesting detail to notice how the flora appears proportionally larger compared to the rest of the environment, making Kirby and the other drivers seem like small creatures in a vast world, similar to Pikmin. This is most likely a way to subtly narrow the racing path while maintaining an immersive feel, and I hope this kind of organic course design carries over to every track. Also, those flowers remind me of the fully grown Dreamstalk from Triple Deluxe. I don't think Air Riders will necessarily reference Triple Deluxe specifically, but it's a pleasing visual detail I wanted to highlight. Following the opening shot, 3 additional Kirbys of different colors appear, each riding a unique star. We have Kirby on his Warp Star, Blue Kirby on the Wheelie Bike, Yellow Kirby on the Wagon Star, and finally Green Kirby on the Wing Star. All of these were playable machines in the original Air Ride, and given the limited number of vehicles in that game, it's safe to assume that most, if not all, will return as well. One thing people may have overlooked is the color of the Kirbys. In Air Ride, the default colors after pink were yellow, blue and red. Yet there's no sign of a red Kirby in this trailer. The color pattern also doesn't match the Amazing Mirror. Instead, it follows the pattern from Return to Dreamland, when other players choose Kirby as their playable characters. The trailer ends with a title reveal, skipping a numerical continuation in favor of a subtle alteration that will make Google results go wild. It's not the first time that continuations of long-forgotten titles modify the original game's name, and it makes perfect sense considering the age of Air Ride. Some people weren't even born when the first title released in 2003, and you don't want to make newcomers feel like they missed out on something when purchasing a follow-up. There was the option to add Air Ride to Nintendo Switch Online via the newly added GameCube library, but that seems unnecessary since Nintendo likely wants customers to buy the upcoming successor. We also get the confirmation that Masahiro Sakurai himself, the man who created Kirby, will be directing the production of Air Riders. This is extremely important, since it has been more than 20 years since Sakurai primarily worked on a Kirby title in a lead role, making it even more surprising given his previous statements about preferring to work on a new experience rather than a sequel. Air Riders is scheduled for release in 2025, but we actually received more information a couple of months ago. In Sakurai's final proper video on his YouTube channel, he discussed how the idea of producing videos stemmed from the fact that he had a lot of free time after the final DLC character for Smash was finished in 2021. While putting the finishing touches on Smash, he wrote a quick game proposal and had to wait until April 2022 for his new team to assemble. This means he has likely worked on Air Riders for about 3 years now. Although we haven't seen any actual gameplay, I expect the game to be completely withheld for a better fitting release window, most likely early fall. Mario World was was the main highlight of the direct, so it could have been detrimental for both titles if Air Riders, another fun racer, was shown in a fully length gameplay trailer. On top of that, the presentation style Sakurai is known for echoes through the reveal. The ominous intro, which gives a clear picture of the character we are dealing with, and the sudden burst of music combined with remarkable colorful CGI visuals is incredibly reminiscent of how modern Smash entries reveal their characters. There is a slight possibility that it's actually the opening cutscene of the game, but given how short it is and how other Sakurai directed titles feature much more substantial establishing intros, I see this more as a nostalgic, ambitious announcement for everyone who has waited so long for a follow-up. Since Sakurai holds strong connections in the industry, it's likely that the same company or team responsible for the Smash trailers helped bringing his cinematic vision to life. Either way, it's an incredibly first impression and leaves you wondering how the actual game will look like. One minor detail at the end of the trailer is the list of corresponding developers. Sakurai, HAL and Nintendo are all credited, but it's still unclear how much participation each entity had in the project. Sakurai is known in the community for somewhat ignoring the modern representation of Kirby, particularly games that take place after Return to Dreamland, as evidenced by the fact that Smash doesn't include much representation from those entries. Despite the many contemporary characters to choose from, it was once again Marks who played the role of a main boss in Ultimate, and aside from adjusted Ultra Smashes for Kirby and DDD, you will hardly find any modern key figures holding prominent positions beyond Spirits. The differently colored Kirbys may hint that Air Riders will once again feature only a limited number of characters and focus much more on the machines themselves, but it's still early to make a judgment. This is all the first trailer gave us. While it doesn't provide much information, it confirms that the game is in good hands and that we won't have to wait too long to see proper gameplay. However, I would like to take a moment to briefly discuss the possible structure. Unlike other traditional fun racers, Air Ride follows a fairly unconventional approach, dividing the gameplay into three major modes. Air Ride, the actual racing part, Top Ride, the top-down miniature racing experience, and City Trial, a sandbox-style arena match, so to speak. The Air Ride mode is often criticized for being rather superficial due to its incredibly simplistic control style and lack of depth, while City Trial essentially kept the game's reputation alive over the years. There's a concern that Sakurai might focus more on polishing the racing side of the game, without fully understanding the immense appeal of City Trial, but this seems unlikely. With Mario Kart World on the horizon and releasing much earlier as a launch title for the Switch 2, Nintendo would be shooting itself in the foot if it released another fun racer too similar to its best-selling series. I do hope the racing in Air Riders will be more enjoyable, offering a wider range of tracks, characters and machines. However, the real selling point has to be City Trial and its immense potential to expand on the original foundation, with bigger and more diverse maps. In Sakurai's video dedicated to Air Ride, he spent a good minute discussing City Trial and its appeal. He must be aware of its considerable popularity, especially since Smash on the 3DS featured a very similar mode with nearly the same rules. So I don't think we need to worry. Sakurai has gathered much more experience over the last 20 years and Air Riders has the potential to become a fantastic evergreen title for fans to enjoy throughout the Switch 2's lifespan. The last time we received a full, proper retail spin-off was Battle Royale in 2017, and with HAL likely working on the next mainline title for the next year, there's once again plenty of Kirby to look forward to. But did I miss something essential in the short trailer that you noticed? Let me know your first impressions of Air Riders in the comments and stay tuned for more analysis of the fun racer and the expansion of Forgotten Land in the upcoming weeks.